Welcome to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Preparis, and with me as always is my co-host, Brenna Calvert.
Hey, everybody.
The intro music you just heard was brought to you by Mark Capaldo of Madison Ambush. If you like the music you hear, go ahead and hit him up on iTunes or Amazon and download some of his songs. This episode is brought to you by Harbinger Fitness. Harbinger Fitness makes weightlifting belts, dip belts, gloves, weighted vests, some perfect training tools for OCR.
Yep, I'm a huge fan of them. They're your go-to for, I'd say, gloves. They've got full finger, 3/4 lengths, all different kinds with wrist straps. Great for heavy lifting or just say you're doing some pull-ups. I want to protect those hands, say for race day. Check them out. Definitely great for weight belts, leather, and they've got girls specific and guys specific. So check out Harbinger Fitness.
Right on. If you're just joining the podcast and you're not familiar with Strength and Speed, you can head over to teamstrengthspeed.com. That's where we publish most of these podcasts. And then also we post articles on there. We have pictures of some of our athletes. There's some criteria, so it kind of gives you a scale on how to improve both in your cardio work and also in your strength training. Also some videos on there and a lot of other good information. Some discounts, some races, race details, things like that. So if you haven't checked out teamstrengthspeed.com, make sure you check it out. Our guest today is Jason Rulo. Brenna, you want to let us know a little bit about Jason?
I suppose so. So for those that don't know, Jason is the owner of Assault Fitness and Pinnacle Personal and Performance Training located in St. Louis, Missouri. I'd like to say that he's got about 18 years experience working in fitness and sports performance, so he knows his stuff. He's also been an avid OCR racer since about 2010. And I'm very proud to say and honored for him, has participated in 5 World's Toughest Mudders. Jason is actually a member of Battle Corps, which is the race team for the Battlegrounds race series. And he's also the inventor of the Neptune Thermoregulation system, which is a mouthful, but it debuted this year, or the past year, 2016, at World's Toughest Mudder. And he hopes to make a must-have piece of apparel for outdoor enthusiasts. He'll actually tell us a little bit more about that, but welcome to this episode, Jason.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about Battlegrounds, one of the smaller race series. It's at a permanent OCR facility in just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. The Battle Corps and Jason's product, the Neptune Thermoregulation system. So I guess let's just start it off. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Battlegrounds. So tell us a little bit about the permanent OCR facility, the Battlegrounds, and kind of what it has in store.
Well, if you haven't raced the Battlegrounds, it's definitely unique in what it has to offer. You know, if I were to kind of liken the course to something that people have raced, the difficulty as far as the obstacles are concerned, nothing like a CTG or like Battle Frog used to be, but it's more like probably a Warrior Dash in its difficulty level. There are a couple failable obstacles. In fact, I'm probably going to add a few more failable stuff for this year. But it's a 5 mile or a 5K. You can kind of pick or choose. But we got a lot of obstacles. We got almost 40 obstacles on the course as of right now. And, it's got some big stuff. When I say it's kind of like Warrior Dash, they've got Goliathon or whatever that thing is called, the one that doesn't fall down. Anyway, our stuff does not fall down. It's all permanent. So, we can reconfigure some things, but nothing's fallen down for sure. It's been up, I believe they, started the first race, if I remember back right. It was, May of 2012. So, I was there for that race, and I think I've been in all but one of the races that they had. And I actually got involved with them almost immediately. I know the owner, Carl Baum's, a few mutual friends, so I was able to shoot some videos and stuff right after that first race on the course, and kind of have been involved in the background, doing some various things ever since then. And then, they started the Battle Corps just before 2015. or let's see, how many years is that? Yeah, just before 2015. So it's been going on as a team for 2 full seasons. Going to start a 3rd season, I believe, and we got a decent squad, but we're not really as competitive as far as that was never the purpose. We're going to start getting a little more competitive, I think, but it was always more of like a street team type thing. But as far as the course itself, they try to do it, pretty big as far as some of the obstacles are concerned, but it's made for average everyday Joe.
Well, with it being a permanent course, what type of terrain is it? Like, is it I guess I should be more familiar with Midwest by now, but I don't know. It seems to be different everywhere I go, and I travel so much, can't keep it straight. But like the terrain, is it farmland or what is it?
Well, so the Battleground, it's kind of funny because St. Louis is right on the border. As far as different parts of the area some are really hilly, some parts are really hilly, some parts are flat, some parts are like a field. Basically, one of the things that makes the Battlegrounds unique is there's a winery next door. The owner owns a winery as well, so it's basically a farm field with some woods and a creek that runs through it. So it's a wooded course. In about half of it, and the other half is open field. And then we're going to add some land and things like that. But the basis of it is there's no elevation change. I believe there's 78 feet of elevation change to the whole course. Like if you use GPS, and probably 25 feet of that is the big water slide that we have because you have to climb up the big ladder to get the water slide. So we're talking about basically a flat course. It's a fast course. You're gonna, when Evan comes out, he crushes it because he's fast, and anybody that's fast, if you came out, Brenna, you'd be killing it because it's fast. It's a fast course.
I was gonna say I just haven't made it yet. It's always conflicting. I don't think I can make it this year. I don't know. I have to double check. I keep triple checking, but I don't know. We'll have to talk to my boss and see what happens.
I believe their first race is May 20th this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe it's May 20th. It's whatever that Saturday is. I always get the date messed up. I think it's May 20th. It sounds right. So
I raced the course in 2014. It was one of the first OCRs I did for that season. It was like you said, it's flat, fast course. Got some fun obstacles. The slides is a lot of fun. It's a pretty good spectator area because you kind of keep looping through that field in the middle, and before you're heading back out to the woods. And I also raced it in. Mud Run Guide did their summer splash there, their summer splash event, which was. Either
between the two y'all, would you say, is there an obstacle that's kind of like a signature or something you expect that's like, ooh, that's really cool, gotta check it out? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Go to that?
The gauntlet's got to be it.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Jason?
Yeah, the gauntlet's definitely the signature obstacle, and kind of explain what the gauntlet is. It's difficult. There are 6 lanes that, and it's if you want to look at it like a Ninja Warrior type of thing. There's a bunch of different apparatus to grab a hold of. There's a monkey bar set. There's tire swings. There's a balancing thing. There's a chain link fence, an I-beam that you have to kind of traverse across. So you kind of pick your lane. It's a pick your poison type of thing. There are some lanes that are faster than others. There's some that are more easy. But you kind of pick your poison when you come down. It's right before the finish. And it's kind of a big deal. Like Evan said, we've got a big arena area. Basically, it's really viewer friendly. And you kind of loop out and back, and you keep coming back into this arena area, kind of like Spartan sets it up, where they've got a bunch of obstacles in one little area where people can just watch it. And that's pretty much what it's all about. And as far as our course is set up specifically to be spectator friendly, to be fast, enjoyable, obviously, with the big water slide and 11-foot drop into another water thing called the drop zone, a variety of things, but they're all happening right there in front of everybody. And then you get the winery right next door. So when you're done, you go post party over at the winery.
I was going to say, is there a festival like the spectator area? Do you have a festival area there, or is kind of festival more like the winery?
It's a combination. There is a festival area with vendors and stuff like that. It's a big field right there in the what we call the obstacle arena. So like I said, they've set it up. It's well thought out, and because it's permanent, they're able to kind of configure things in such a way that we can get the most amount of people in and out of it. The last race we did last May had 3,200 registrants. So for a local course, that's pretty good. And they're hoping for, I believe we're hoping for about 4,500 this year. So it's we can get a pretty good amount of people in and out of there. It's nothing like a Spartan race, but then again, this is a local deal. So.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The Gauntlet's a really cool obstacle. So if you look in my book, Strength and Speed Guide to Elite Obstacle Course Racing, a lot of the pictures in the obstacles section are actually from the Gauntlet, just because it had so many unique aspects that it allowed me to talk about each specific aspect, like the chain link fence pictures from there, the I-beam crossing pictures from there, the thick horizontal pole is from there. And
I'll have to go back and look now. Yay.
And when we were there for Summer Splash, Brett Stewart, the owner of Mud Run Guide, actually did a separate competition. So we had the race in the morning, and then kind of later in the afternoon, we did the Gauntlet Challenge. So you started in like lane 1 of the Gauntlet essentially, and you would go down and back, kind of zigzagging. So you do like 6 lanes of obstacles all in a row. So that was a lot of fun. I think Scott Wierzecki actually won that. He beat me by a couple seconds, but.
So how many races a year are there? Is that like a one-time a year thing, or?
No, last year we only did 1 race, but the typical thing is that we have 2 races there a year, that at least the ones that we run, and then they do a couple other things where they'll rent out the course. But as far as large-scale events, we got 2 of them. We got one. And I should have looked up the date. I always mess the stupid dates up. I believe it's the 23rd of September or whatever. It's like the third weekend in September. And then, obviously the one that we were talking about before, which is May 20th, as far as our spring race. So we got spring and a fall. In the past, we've done the fall probably in, first weekend in October, and it's been a little bit cooler. So they moved it up a couple weeks to, hopefully, take advantage of it. And then there's also the Tough Mudder. They didn't want to get too close to the Tough Mudder, so I believe they moved it a little earlier to kind of give some space between those 2 races. Tough Mudder, Missouri.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make the fall race. I know I have something else scheduled for the spring race, so I definitely won't be at that one. But fall race, I'm hoping to get on my calendar there.
Yeah, that'll be good stuff. Get you back out there. So, and I believe
Philly. That's May 20th.
What's that?
Toughest Philly. That's what's going on May 20th.
I have a wedding that I have to go to on May 20th, and then I'm going directly from the wedding to the Toughest Philly, and then racing.
Jason, what toughest are you doing?
Atlanta. Well, I have Atlanta right now, and then the plan is to do Chicago as well. I guess it depends on travel funds and stuff like that, because OCR World Championships and then World's Toughest Mudder toward the end of the year. So if I want to go ahead and add that in there, if I don't get if I want the 25 miles or whatever, I should easily get that in Atlanta. But if I don't for some reason, never know what can happen. Then I'm going to need to qualify for that contender wave or whatever they call it at World's Toughest. So I'll probably end up doing the Chicago one too. But definitely will be in Atlanta on April 28th for that toughest. I believe it's the second one that they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan to have a primary and then at least one backup just in case. Like you said, you never know, something goes wrong. Racing all night in the dark. I guess we don't know what the temperature and obstacles will be like, so we'll kind of see as those courses develop over the course of this year.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of, I'd like to be doing the first one, but at the same time, the first one's where they're going to have to iron out all their kinks. So that one out in California could be rough. Once by the time they get to Atlanta, they should have everything ironed out, kind of know how this is going to flow and all that stuff. So it should be good.
Yeah, definitely a good point there.
So
sorry, I sidetracked us.
No, that's okay.
But if we want to get, I guess, back to the Battle Corps team, because that's pretty cool. You seem to be are you on the team, or are you kind of like the organizer of the team? How does that work?
The team's like an official deal. So they set it up. It's like I said before, when we originally set it up, it was more of a field team type of thing, a promoter type thing, and we're actually splitting the team into 2 parts. We have the competitive team now, and then we're going to have an ambassador team that's starting new for this year.
Oh, nice.
For people that don't get selected for the race team, if they're still interested in being a part of it, the ambassador team is kind of like a street team type of thing, where they you do get a race entry and you get apparel, Battlegrounds apparel and stuff to race in, and then they can earn some money by getting people to sign up and stuff like that. But as far as the competitive team, the people that are part of that team, Nan Allen, Leah Hensley, who did World's Toughest Mudder as well this year, Megan Berg, Chris Balvin. Chris Balvin's actually he's the captain of the team, myself, and Ryan Steele, and then, of course, Scott Warchecki, we mentioned earlier. He's probably the lead guy on the team, the fast guy. So that makes up the competitive team, and then we had some people that are not on the competitive team now. They actually decided to move to being the captains of the ambassador team, and that's Rob Fader and Amanda Powers. So we got a pretty good group, and it's a little bit, like I said, all the people here, not all of them, are pretty much local. So we've got a pretty close knit group. We train at core together, and we get to get out on the course and play around, and that's one of the benefits of having a course that's permanent, is you can get out there and play around on it. We can get together on a weekend and head out there and play around a little bit. So
explain to people what core is, for those who don't know.
Okay, so Core Complex is a Ninja Warrior gym. It's one of the, I would say it's, as far as famous-wise, it's a more famous one, and they do competitions there and stuff, but they've had numerous people on American Ninja Warrior. So it basically, they do parkour, which is, I guess that's how it got its name, but it didn't start off as parkour stuff. So they do parkour there, Ninja Warrior type obstacles, and then they also have, because they're a main sponsor of the Battle Corps and of the Battlegrounds, they have some Battleground specific stuff that is more toward OCR related stuff, like cargo net and various things that will allow us to practice stuff for OCR specifically. We got a peg board. That's why we're able to practice a little bit for Pegatron and things like that. So CTG is Pegatron. So it's definitely a good addition to our training repertoire that we can head over there. I was there earlier tonight and head over there and get some training in anytime we want. So that's a part of our sponsorship.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great facility. I was actually in St. Louis last year for about a week for work and stopped by, did some training at Core, once on my own and then once with you guys. It was definitely a cool facility. Lots of options there. I mean, it's specific. It's good group to help motivate you, and the instructors were very good. They definitely know their stuff. A little more ninja focused than OCR, but I think that's kind of the future of the sport, like as the sport continues to develop, I think you'll have the higher level athletes having like a ninja coach, and then having a running coach, and then kind of an OCR coach, kind of like the way you see with MMA fighters, where they have like
a ninja coach. I like that.
They have like MMA fighters have like a boxing coach, a grappling coach, and whatever, striking up. My MMA knowledge is not too deep, but I know they have multiple coaches, so they can essentially learn from the best, and then someone kind of there orchestrating it to put it all together. So that's kind of the way I see the future of OCR high-level athletes going, as long as the obstacles continue to get more difficult. They
have a fantastic parkour coach. His name's Kyle Mendoza, and we've done some work with him as a group, trying to learn a little bit more about parkour, how to land off of obstacles of height and, laches and all these type of things. And the dude's pretty he's pretty amazing. If you check out his YouTube page, Epic Mendoza. He's crazy, and he got pretty far on the Ninja Warrior. He actually is new to Ninja Warrior, but that guy's you can look for his name this year because he'll be on there. I'm not sure he applied, but I'm pretty sure he probably did, and he got through 2 rounds last year, and probably will do much better this year. He was actually sick. Actually, he got to the second round and was sick on that night and didn't do too well, but he'll do much better this year.
I know one of your other trainers has been on too, Crystal May Purdy. Is that how I pronounce her name correctly?
Christy.
Christy, there we go. So,
she's been on a couple times. Yeah,
I remember they showed her, I think it was wedding pictures where she was actually in the core gym climbing around in her wedding dress.
Yep. It's definitely unique. Everybody remembers that picture that video set, because not too many people are doing salmon ladder with a wedding dress on.
Yeah, that's solid.
For sure.
When I think of Battlegrounds or Battle Corps, I actually think of you. Like, to me, you're permanently tied to that brand. Just like when I think
the face.
Yeah, like when I think Spartan Race, I think Rose Wetzel and Amelia Boone, even if they're not on the pro team anymore. When I think Battlegrounds, I think Jason Rulo. So how does that feel, just kind of being tied to a brand specific, and I don't know, kind of where do you see the future of Battlegrounds going?
Well, I'm glad I'm like one of the faces. Considering I've been there, so long and been trying to be involved in all the stuff. And we do some training day things where that's the real benefit of having a permanent course that a lot of people don't have. Obviously, now that CTG's got their own gym and stuff, they'll have some obstacle specific stuff they can work on. But we actually have training days for people to come out and I kind of lead the training day as part of my fitness thing. Leading the training day so we can practice on the obstacles. People come out and try it out, kind of get a feel of the course, how things are going to go. They can get a lay of the land. They don't get to see them all. They don't get to practice them all, but they get to see a lot of the big obstacles and kind of know what's in store. And because I'm involved in that part of it and involved in the background as far as the battle corps and stuff, I'm glad I can be like one of the faces of the Battlegrounds. It's as far as a course and a race, it's going to only continue to grow. I mean, Bob Holm, our race director, does a fantastic job, and he's got some new things in store, and it's been growing kind of leaps and bounds over the last couple of years as the overall industry is more getting more focused and less frenetic as far as places like Battle Frog, where they get races all over the place and then all of a sudden they're gone, disappear, and all that kind of stuff. So when you condense getting it all down to the nitty gritty of what's good about the sport and the fact that our race is set up for the average Joe, but also it's fun to race for the elites, I think is a good thing as well. So, we're not going anywhere, that's for sure, because like I said, he's got multiple businesses right there on that site, and it's kind of like a backyard playground for Carl, and we just get to play. He allows us all to come out and play on it every now and then. So, but I'm glad I can represent the team and represent it pretty well, both in like obstacle racing world championships and come out to World's Toughest Mudder and get some recognition for Battlegrounds.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's good. It's good that they have other businesses on the actual site. So it's not going anywhere. I think that adds some stability to the industry. That's good. I know Mud Guts and Glory site at King's Domain, home of the first OCR World Championship, announced that they were closing a couple months ago, and that
stinks.
That does stink. I think everyone wanted to go back and race that course at some point, even if the championships didn't go back there. Like, to me, that holds a special place in everyone's heart because it's where it all started. In my eyes.
I love that course.
Brenna does not like that course. That's right.
But I want my revenge, but I'll never get it.
I was at a Mud Guts and Glory race, and that's where I met her, and she was on crutches the whole time.
Yep. Good times.
That's probably the first time I walked by Brenna, but I had no idea who she was at the time. So we just...
Yeah, she's hiding.
I was doing laps of BFX Cincinnati at the time. So.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, I wouldn't remember me from that either, that race. Yeah, there's a lot more better things to remember. But... So knowing you, Jason, as the face of Battlegrounds is awesome, but you're also, for me, the face of this thing that I've seen on Facebook and heard about because I've started to research, or tried to at least, wrap my head around World's Toughest Mudder a little bit. So let's see, the Neptune Thermoregulation System. It just sounds so scientific, and you are the creator, designer of this, and all I know, me being the, simple-minded, not knowing too much, is people are comparing wetsuits. People are asking what to keep warm and what do they need for gear for World's Toughest Mudder. And then I would see people sharing this system from you. So what is this?
So Evan's had the opportunity to both test it for me, and he wore it at World's Toughest Mudder as well. Basically what it is, it's a base layer system, but it's self-heating. So because of the way it self-heats, it'll stay heated for 18 hours. You can buy other self-heating products like jackets and different things like that are on the market, but they're battery heated. And for obstacle racing, that's, in my opinion, not a good idea. And there are heated vests where you take a neoprene vest, which is actually meant for diving, and wear it at Tough Guy or whatever it is. But the problem with that is that you're going to overheat pretty quickly if you're actually running or if the sun's out or anything, because the vest itself does not allow you to breathe. So when you hear thermoregulation system, it is what it is. I mean, it is exactly what it says it is. I could just call it the Neptune, but then it wouldn't really kind of self-define itself. But the whole idea is that if you wore it at 60 degrees, even fully loaded with all six chemical heaters, you wouldn't overheat. You would be warm. There's no doubt about that, but you wouldn't overheat. It wouldn't be like you're going to die. If you put a wetsuit on, you go run 60 degrees and you're not getting wet a whole lot, you're going to die. You're just going to, even a shorty, you're going to be overheating pretty quickly. So this allows this thing breathes. So if you want a quick nutshell of what it is, not being able to see it, it's a compression shirt that's been modified. It's got a durable water repellent, so it actually sheds water. If you pour water on it, it just runs right off. So, not only does it not absorb water, it actually sheds it. So, it's kind of difficult to explain, but if you actually saw it happen, it's pretty cool. But it's got 6 pockets that go around your core area, right around your abdominal area, and those pockets hold body heaters, which is the chemical hand warmers a lot of people have seen, but these things are like 3x5. They're a lot bigger. The problem with those things are you can't get them wet. So I had to develop a way that allowed them to breathe, because they have to have oxygen, allow them to breathe but not get wet and be able to be protected. And also, they get so hot that if you actually stuck them in the shirt without the pouches to protect you, and you weren't moving too much, or you actually put a coat over it or something like that, they actually would burn you. So you got to be kind of careful about how you apply it. But the pouches are there to protect you, there to protect the thing. But if you can imagine, if somebody asked me what does it feel like to run, it basically feels like somebody's giving you a hug the whole time you're running. So,
is it heavy?
No, it's not heavy. No. In fact, you would not even notice that you had it on. It's even fully loaded. You wouldn't notice that you have it on. And some other things that kind of play into it, which Evan recounted to me specifically, which I knew was going to happen. So that even if the heaters were not on, even if they were dead or they weren't getting enough air, what it actually does is help insulate you by, if you think about those silver aluminum thermal blanket things that they give
you. Mylar blanket.
Yeah, space blanket. Good. Yeah. Space blanket that they give you, that kind of traps in the heat. Well, these things do the same thing, because it's made, what's inside those little pouches is a little iron oxide. So these things actually insulate you by themselves without any heat. So they're helping trap the heat in. And if the wind's blowing and you're not wearing anything over the top of it, you're just running like a regular race, and you're not in South Texas, you're up in Wisconsin and the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour and it's 40 degrees, the actual pouches themselves block the wind. So not only do you have something that's providing heat, you got something that's blocking wind, that's trapping in your own body heat. So it really is a thermal regulation system. The thing that makes it unique in the other respect is because it's a base layer and because it is a compression shirt, air does pass through it. So as you're running, air is passing through, cooling you down. So you're not overheating. And the one problem that everybody knows, if you're running the CTG or you're running one of the Battle Frogs or OCR World Championships, if you fail an obstacle, you're standing there. So standing there, you're dissipating heat, you're losing heat. If you're at the tough guy race, which Amanda Mendez recounted for me that it was so crowded that she was walking the whole time, but she was wearing a Neptune, and even in the cold, didn't have any trouble with it. Some other people had them and chose not to use them, and didn't do so well because of that. So
shame on them.
Exactly. So, I kind of developed it specifically for OCR, but it's one of those things that can be used, if you're skiing, you're wearing a jacket over the top of, it's going to help trap heat in. If you open the jacket up, you're losing that extra heat. If you're hiking, all those type of things. Even if you're surfing, it'll work inside and outside the water. It doesn't work quite as well when you wear a wetsuit over it, unless you got like Ryan Atkins and Trevor Psychos both had vented wetsuits at World Toughest Mudder, where they could unzip a section of it and it would actually vent. If you had that would work perfect, because it will vent and allow the things to continue to breathe. After a while, if you get that wetsuit on, it gets pretty tight against you. It doesn't breathe quite as well, but it still holds the heat in. So, you'll still get benefit out of it. It's just it doesn't quite breathe quite as well as it would in a regular OCR race.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I had the product at World's Toughest Mudder this year, and I packed it, kept it in my, gear bag, and I was like, well, I'm not even sure if I'm going to wear it. I'll just kind of use it there in case it gets really cold and really bad. And the temperature, for those of you who are at World's Toughest Mudder this year, was warm. It's like unusually warm. So the sun went down, and normally what I used to tell people is when the sun goes down, have your wetsuit on, because the temperature drops faster than you can handle it. And when the sun went down this year, it was still warm, and as I came through the pit crew, I was asking my pit crew, who was my dad, for basically what's the hour-by-hour forecast of the weather, and it was slowly going down. So I went another lap without a wetsuit, and then it cooled down a little bit more. put on the Neptune shirt, and did a couple laps with like just that on, and everyone else is in full wetsuits, and I'm running with a t-shirt, shorts, and compression socks. And every time I pass the volunteer, he's like, "You better get a wetsuit on. You're gonna get hypothermia." And I'm like, "Got it, dude. Keep on cruising." And
take my first rodeo.
And then I ended up putting a wetsuit top on for a couple miles, and I didn't put my full wetsuit on until it was after 11 p.m., which is super late. It's preposterously late.
Actually, that was about the same time frame that I put my full. Now I had the shorty on. I believe I put the shorty on at maybe 8:30. And I did 2 laps in that, or I don't even know how long. Yeah, probably 2 laps, and then I put my full on. It was probably about 11 o'clock, so it was about the same time frame. But I wasn't moving quite as fast as you were.
Yeah.
The fact that y'all can remember that after so many laps and miles, I'm just it baffles me.
You'd be surprised.
Well, those are key events. Most of the race is a big blur. I can't remember most of the race, but when I put on my wetsuit it's very, I don't know, that's very clear in my mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll know one of these days, hopefully.
Yeah.
So,
what do you mean one of these days? I thought you were registered. You're ready to roll.
I know. I'm just saying that you never know what can happen, but eventually,
stop.
I'll know by the end of the year. But for the Neptune, so is it guy, girl specific? One size fits all? Tell me more.
No, it's not one size fits all, but it is unisex. It's set up, so it does have sleeves. So when I was putting this thing together, I kind of based it off, a rash guard for a wetsuit. So it has sleeves, and that's meant to help. If you try to wear a wetsuit, you don't have you don't have anything underneath it. For the most part, you can get armpit, chafing and nipple chafing, all this kind of stuff. So a lot of people wear some type of a compression garment underneath it. The problem is that the more things that you wear that can retain water, the less effective the wetsuit is, because what you end up with as soon as you get out of the water is a cold, damp shirt that you have underneath this wetsuit that is getting cold from the outside in. Now, this year, World's Toughest Mudder is a lot warmer. All those rookies who did so well this year, if they run into a cold year next year, they're in for a rude awakening. But, its sizing is set up so that it actually fits 2 sizes. So, if you're kind of between 2 sizes, or if you're okay, I'd rather have it tighter than looser, you can buy the smaller size, and it'll stretch, because Under Armour makes their compression gear is 2-way stretch. So it basically stretches in one direction. It does stretch all 4 directions, but it's made differently. This is stretching 4 directions, all 4. So it stretches a whole lot. You're not going to have any problem getting your head into the hoop or to the neckline, or pulling having the arm gussets be too tight on your armpits and things like that, just because it's a smaller shirt, because the thing stretches so much. So, and it's also made 2 inches longer than a normal shirt. So it's made to not pull up. If anybody's ever worn a compression shirt and they reach their arms above their head, next thing you know, you're wearing a belly shirt. So it's kind of set up so that doesn't happen, even though you got these pouches in there. So it is unisex in its design, but it does fit a large variety of people. I mean, for instance, the largest size I have made is an extra large, and it'll fit a 250-pound man pretty easily, even with just the extra large, just because of the fact it stretches so much. I tried to think it through as much as I possibly could. In fact, it was ridiculous how much I had to try to think this thing through. I mean, I only went through a few different prototypes and whatnot, but I had to make sure that it was going to be as user friendly and as multi-use as possible, because I knew that this is something that somebody could use for a lot of different things. So I tried to think it through all the way.
Well, we appreciate you being thoughtful for it.
I was really happy with the way the product came out. I would say I'm a gear minimalist at World's Toughest Mudder. I mean, I bring a fair amount of stuff, but I typically don't use that much. Most of it's kind of emergency stuff that, if I feel like I really need it. But I was really happy with the way it came out. Thought it performed great. Definitely attribute that to some of my success this year. Again, because I could run for such a long time without any wetsuit on, which when you add the wetsuit, that's more weight. That's less mobility, sometimes makes some of the obstacles harder. So, I mean, I love it. I'm going to be bringing it to all my Toughest Mudder events, and I don't get any kickbacks or anything like that. So this is my genuine opinion. So anyway.
I've got one more question. Where can I get one, and how much does it cost? That's 2 questions.
There are the $2 million questions, right? So right now you can get it on Amazon. It's just just yesterday they received my initial shipment, so Amazon is available on Amazon. Or you can get it from my website, which is neptuneperformance.com. So the price is not cheap, but that's what happens when you have to order something in small quantities, or at least small quantities as far as like Under Armour would be concerned. But it's $140. But it is fully guaranteed. If you're not happy, you just return it and I'll give you your money back. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be, as long as you use it as directed. That's the main key. One of the problems, and Evan and I had a discussion about this earlier this week. I got an article coming out, Mud Run Guide, in the next few weeks regarding toughness and races and all this kind of stuff. And I can just see all these tough guys that like to race OCR thinking, I don't need that thing. I'm going to show how tough I am. But really, it's one of those things, like Evan said, if you come out to a race and you think it's going to be, 60 degrees and sunny, and next thing you know, it's 55 degrees, wind's blowing, and it's cloudy, and you get stuck in an obstacle, I don't care how tough you are, you're going to be SOL. You're going to get cold, and you're going to be in trouble. And this is what this is designed for. It's designed for the what if. What if something happens and you get stuck out there? You're going to be okay in this situation. But in an average situation, you're going to be huddled up. Hopefully they got a barrel full of fire burning or something around a rig or something of that nature. It's a Pegatron for the CTG people out there, trying to get through this thing and not freeze to death.
Well, I can't wait to have one because I'm probably going to need that at World's Toughest Mudder because I can't stand the cold.
Toughest Mudder, World's Toughest Mudder, even regular races. But, it'll definitely get some use. If you're an OCR enthusiast, you're going to do a bunch of races. Yeah, I just can't see how you wouldn't have one. It's basically like a separate pair of shoes. All right? You're going to have to go with one less pair of shoes this year. You get you this thing and you'll be all right.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to bring it to all my races that are occurring at the beginning and end of the season, just because having it in your kit bag as a backup item I think is a very good idea.
Ooh, Evan, where do you go first? Maybe I'll see you and check it out.
Let's see. First race. We're debating to go to CTG Houston. We're thinking about doing that. And if not, it might be Savage, Georgia. And if not that one, it might be Warrior Dash, Tennessee.
You get all kinds of options.
There's a lot of what ifs here.
Okay, well you know where my vote lies on 2 of those. So, but anyways.
Yeah, obviously the first 2 are your go-to options.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to note about the shirt is, to me the best answer is always self-generated body heat. So you don't want to rely completely on the shirt to keep you warm, but it will help. It definitely helps. But if your plan is to, sit down for large portions of the time and not move, I think you're going to freeze regardless of what you have on. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people at World's Toughest Mudder run into, where they stop moving, they stop generating body heat. And if you're not generating any internal body heat, it doesn't really matter how many layers you pile on top. So, I think used in conjunction with, the shirt or maybe a wetsuit and, generating your own body heat, it's going to keep you in the race longer.
I'm going to make a point on that because there's one thing that there's a misconception. Pac takes a lot of heat for, he made a poor choice, and there's one mistake you can make at World's Toughest Mudder, which most people don't think about, and I'm sure he didn't think about it. He didn't really understand when he was overheating in the middle of the night. If you get to the point where you are overheating at World's Toughest Mudder because you put your wetsuit on too soon, do not remove the wetsuit, because now your body is in heat loss mode. So it's doing everything it can to lose heat. You can take it down, leave it around your waist, but don't take it off, because if you take it off and you're in the situation he was in, he was overheating. As far as I understand, when I saw him, he was getting ready to start the next lap, and I believe he was on lap 9. And I talked to him, and he said, "Man, I'm overheating. I put my wetsuit on too soon." But what happens is that your body's in this heat loss mode. It's trying to shed heat, and you take that thing off, and it's still in heat loss mode. And the first thing you do is hit cold water. Now you're in trouble, because your body's trying to shed heat, and it can't scale it back fast enough. So what happens is that you end up hypothermic in like no time, flip of a switch, you're hypothermic because your body's trying to lose heat as fast as it can. So one of the worst things that people can do if they start to overheat wearing a wetsuit is take the wetsuit entirely off. If you want to take it down to your waist, no problem. I believe John Albin said he did that when he started to overheat this year when he had problems, but he didn't take the suit off. If you take it all the way off, then you're left out, literally out in the cold, and you don't have any way to get back. If you got to finish all 5 miles, and the colder of the dips at World's Toughest this past year were on the backside of the course. Once you got past, actually probably about the middle of the course and back. But it's definitely don't make that mistake. Don't take the wetsuit off. Once you got it on, take it down to your waist, do everything you got to do. Hopefully if you're buying your wetsuits for this year, here's your tip, Brenna, if you don't have your wetsuit yet, buy a front zip. So that way, if you get hot, a front zip will allow you to cool yourself. So, if you buy a back zip like everybody else, like a lot of people do, most wetsuits are there to keep you warm, but they're not made to run in. But if you're running, like if you look at Ryan Atkins, he's got a swim run wetsuit. Yeah,
so
swim run wetsuit.
Tied, because he folds it down and ties it around him or whatever, right?
Yeah, he's able to unzip the front of it. And if you're running forward and the wind's blowing at you, the air is going to cool you because all you have to do is unzip it. You don't even have to take it down. But at the same time, if you do need to take it down, the suit he has actually has zipper holes, I think, on the side where he can zip it and lose some heat that way. But in retrospect, if we're talking about the Neptune, that actually helps with the Neptune. And my plan is to buy, especially modify a wetsuit to have an up zip. So it'll zip down to cool and just zip a hole basically in my belly so that I can heat the Neptune and then just zip it down when I go in the water. But I'm going to switch to, if I can make it work, I'm going to switch to a front zip. I just think it's a lot more versatile for what we're trying to use it for. It's not going to keep you as warm, but at the same time, if you're really that cold, just put a jacket on over the top of it and you'll basically make up any difference of the air passing through that front zip.
For those that were listening, I was gonna say for those that were listening that we're OCR and then we get into like endurance and this front zip, we probably lost them, but
nope, it's World's Toughest Mudder. You got people who listen from that.
Yeah. For those of you who may not be familiar with all the names, Jung Young Pak was the winner of World's Toughest Mudder the first 2 years, came in second the third year, and then has dropped out the last 3 years due to temperature regulation issues, essentially. So we were talking about his most recent 2016 where he dropped out. He was in first place at the time.
Yeah, he was winning. He was winning.
And I 100% agree with everything you said. I know I was morning, but I zipped my wetsuit down, so removed it from my upper body once the sun came up because I was starting to get hot, but didn't want to take it off. And I think, for me personally, I like to err on the side of being a little too cold because it makes me run a little faster, and I kind of know my body, and I'm willing to push myself into a very uncomfortable place. So I always like having an option. Yeah. I always like having an option that I can scale up. So there's something I find mentally reassuring of being like, all right, if it gets colder, I can put on X. And then if it gets colder, I can put on Y. So I essentially layer up, that goes to full wetsuit and then, full wetsuit with hat and then full wetsuit with, neoprene hood. And then kind of like the last scale is like I wrap a space blanket around myself and I stumble through the course until the sun comes up. So I never had to go to the space blanket yet, and I've never actually had to go to the neoprene hood. But I'm prepared to go there if I need to. I have them in my bag, and in the meantime, when I get cold, I just smear some MAN on it. Just kind of power through that shit. So.
Yeah, that's it. Might as well.
All right, Jason. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Before we let you go, what races do you have coming up first? What's your kind of big events for the year, and what's on the schedule for 2017 for you?
Well, I plan pretty much, I have a background in fitness, so I plan everything out for the whole year pretty much ahead of time, and I just kind of throw stuff in there. So this time of year, I'm only doing pretty much non-OCR events all the way up until April. April usually starts my season. So I got Atlanta Toughest Mudder. So I'm planning on starting my OCR season then, and then obviously Battlegrounds. I'm a little older, so when you get a little older, get closer to 40, you got to plan out the races a little more spaced. So I pretty much just race once a month, and I'll throw a couple in there, extra races in there. But I know in June I've got the Chicago Spartan, and then I believe I'm doing Wichita CTG, which is in July, and then the plan was to do the Chicago Toughest Mudder in August and probably one other race in August, and then Battlegrounds September, and then my October race is World Championships, OCR World Championships, and then World's Toughest Mudder. So I'll probably throw a couple in there here and there, but that's pretty much my season plan.
I think that's actually a good plan. I think most of us race too frequently, and I know I'm even guilty of it myself, even though I know it's a mistake. I will race more than I should. It's just hard, like when events come through, you're just like, oh, it's so close. I can just hit this one.
Sure.
Too.
I'll just do a fun run, as in like third, fourth place. I'll just do a fun run. It's okay.
Yeah.
Although
I'm not that low.
I will say some of my race schedule, it looks worse than it is because sometimes I'll do tough mudders and just kind of coast it out and really not push myself. I really take it easy during those. So I'm just logging miles really. So it looks busier on paper than it is in real life because I'm not redlining during those. But I think that plan of racing once a month and doing a couple week of build up and then a week or two of taper before the event is probably a very good strategy. It is a very good strategy. It's not probably.
Yeah. I got to make it to the end of the season. I don't want to be injured, so that's me.
Yeah. Before we go, Jason, any other sponsors you want to plug or people you want to thank? I know we talked about Battlegrounds pretty extensively and Neptune already. So, anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, my main sponsors obviously are the Battlegrounds, and thank Carl and Bob Holm for their work on the Battlegrounds. But we mentioned Core. That's one of our big sponsors. Allow me to train over there, and then I'm self-sponsored the rest of the way between Neptune and Assault Fitness and the programming that I do for OCR athletes and that. So that's pretty much it for me.
Brenna, what do you got?
Oh, man, I want to say that I'm a Legend-born ambassador this season. So your official jersey for OCRWC and official jersey of Conquer the Gauntlet has some pretty cool, exciting things happening for 2017. So make sure you check out Legend-born jerseys.
Awesome. I'm going to give a shout-out to Synergy Sports. They sponsored me last year, sponsor me this year also. They're essentially rig grips and OCR training accessories. Created by Rob Butler, the same guy who owns Shale Hill. And they've got a big race coming up, the 8-hour Polar Bear Challenge coming up in February. It might be this weekend or next weekend. I'm not sure when it is.
I believe it's this weekend.
It's this weekend. So
yeah.
This will probably be, I'm probably not going to publish this till after this weekend. So you missed it. You missed the Polar Bear Challenge. Sign up next year. Or if not, they have a kind of an OCR festival going on this summer. If you're looking for more stuff, more information, more stuff to read, you can check out Mud Run Guide. I published an article on there last week called Do World Championships Need to Move? Talking about how the past 3 or 4 years, most of the World Championships have stayed in the same place. Spartan's been in Tahoe, OCR World Championships has been in Blue Mountain, and World's Toughest Mudder has been in Vegas. So I kind of do an analysis to figure out, in order for it to be quote-unquote legitimate, does it actually have to move? And what I do is compare it to other sports, and you can read the article if you're interested in knowing more. Brenna, any parting words? Or Jason, what do you got?
Thanks, Jason, for joining us. Appreciate it, man. It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'll just reiterate, if you're looking for the Neptune and you want more information, just give me a contact at my name, Jason Rulo, at NeptunePerformance.com, or go to NeptunePerformance.com. I got a ton of videos on there that'll show you basically how it's used for all different sports. So, again, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Jason. And that's it from the Strength and Speed Podcast.